Brokers of Reddit. How crazy is it right now? My wife works for TDA and she says the phone calls are 700 deep with hour-long wait times. Crikey. Every risk management employee at every money manager was busy checking short positions to see how vulnerable those positions are. I have a feeling there's a lot of dishonesty in this thread and I'm not sure which side it's coming from. Laugh my ass off. I thought this was Brokes of Reddit and I was like, well, I have been summoned. Phone rep here. Absolutely crazy times. Hold times are through the roof. We can't keep up with this pace. Trading floors don't exist anymore, at least not like you've seen in the movies. Those scenes of guys answering phones were people answering client calls to buy/sell stock. That is all but extinct. Any institutional investors with proprietary trading do so almost exclusively with models. If anyone left in finance is moving large amounts of stocks by their gut, it's because the power is so consolidated in one individual that there's no hectic scenes of papers flying and guys screaming around them. And they are most likely doing it on a computer screen. Trading floors nowadays look like cubicles sectioned into teams that contribute specific things. Most communication is done via Slack, and it's actually a pretty somber scene in times like these. It's just a bunch of stressed out people looking at screens. But again, even that hardly exists anymore. The scene of the most erratic hedge fund intimately trading in GameStop right now is probably 3 dudes crouched around a screen stewing and staring at a model. I would also like to jump in and say, as far as I'm aware, the trade floor craziness that is portrayed in the movies is really not a thing anymore. Most brokers just sit at computers and make phone calls and trade via computer. I know there's still a couple of future markets that have been screaming, yelling, etc, but that's all kind of a bygone era. Maybe I'm wrong, but as much as I'm sure people envision people yelling buy GME 154, I don't even think that would be a thing anymore. I've been hearing lots of comments like how they've never seen this much attention on a single stock in decades, and that includes the dot-com bubble. Retail trade volume has dramatically increased this year with no fee trades, along with many retail investors stuck at home, but that is beyond insanity. Keep in mind that this thread is used for propaganda. No idea which side is spreading misinformation, most likely both, but read every post as it was written by a propaganda troll to manipulate the outcome. This whole thread is pushing an agenda of fear. The entire financial world does care about what is happening. Things will change after it, and the windfall of what is happening this month will affect Wall Street for years to come. Hedge funds have been over shorting stocks for a very, very long time. Would you say what happened when the housing market crashed wasn't a big deal? These people refused to recognize what's going down. I was a trader, though in credit, not equities, stocks. I do SWE/quant stuff now, but I've been chatting with a friend of mine who's a cash shares trader, so probably the closest thing to what you imagine when you say a broker. Apparently it's relatively chill. There's not much liquidity in these stocks, GME et al. And so the consumer retail trader, there's only one nowadays, is pretty stressed about it, but nothing absurd. The rest of the guys don't trade these names, so nothing really out of the norm for them. March 2020, i.e. when COVID blew us up, was much crazier in my memory, though I am on a different floor than equities where that stuff matters more. As others have pointed out, brokers don't really exist anymore. Trade floors do exist, but exchange floors, i.e. the floor of NYCE, are mostly a TV studio. Happy to answer questions if people. ITT, people who work on Wall Street don't think Wall Street is bad. I'm no expert, but I know not to buy GameStop at $350. Lots of calls and loots of meetings. Very stressed managers asking to double check positions and coordinate with risk teams to send out emails. Broker at a major firm. Made it through the whole day without it even being mentioned once. Edit, because this got a lot of attention, this is likely not true for every part of my firm, and will probably change in the next few days. As far as I can tell, what happened won't have much effect on my job, or my team will just continue as normal. We may see something change over the next few days in the market, but what happened hasn't really trickled down just yet. I'm sure there's a team whose whole day was spent figuring out what is most likely to happen next, and probably meetings between managers and or directors discussing it. Not surprised at the level of shill in this thread and with what's on the line. Hold. None of these top comments are even mentioning what the hedge funds have lost so far, or the fact that free training was shut down. This isn't a pyramid scheme, this is real. Sincerely, some retard using Stash. Hedge fund manager. Wednesday was wild. Our P&L shot massively negative, flipped by noon to be massively positive and ended small down. We don't even trade GameStop, but the shock to the stock is definitely seeping into other positions. Overall, we are delighted that Point72 and possibly Citadel have lost money. We don't buy into the bullshit that is the markets were manipulated in Citadel's favour, but RH not fulfilling its role as a broker is a huge red flag and indicates their precarious financial viability. Tomorrow will be fun, but we expect February to be the real party. I'm a floor broker on the New York Stock Exchange, and to be honest, it is kind of work as usual, but it's definitely the biggest topic of conversation. We definitely all have to take greater care when handling orders in these super volatile stocks because of the violent moves they have been making. There is fewer of us down there, and we have to wear masks and follow the social distancing protocols, which makes some of the unique things about the floor a little weirder. Though it is sort of interesting to see the wider world take an interest in market microstructure to unprecedented extent. Retail sales at a broker-dealer. It's been busier these last few days, with Robinhood suspending GME and various other day tickers. My inbox and voicemail has been a flood of, do you guys offer GME? Worked from 7 AM to 10 today, yesterday to try and keep up with it. What's more interesting is how this is making its way outside of the retail trader circle. My mother asked me to explain how a short position works yesterday. My phone has been blowing up with my friends and family asking for my take on what's going on. A lot of people learning the basics of trading overnight, which is a good and bad thing. I'll leave the comment here because it's a bit mentally taxed, but I feel like I have front row seats to a historic market event. I find it interesting that this subreddit has a hard time picking a side between our WSB and Wall Street hedge funds. I also find it interesting that one of the most upvoted comments is from an attorney serving the financial institutions. The little man got screwed yesterday when trying to stop Wall Street from manipulating the market. It's the people versus the power, and y'all are having a hard time picking a side. Interesting indeed. Oh my god. So I'm not a broker and neither is my friend, but he's an intern for Fidelity and he said they had at least 1,000 of people on hold today. I'm laughing my ass off because I've been following the whole GameStop thing and I love this chaos. FBI have been visiting the trading floor for a couple of times this year. There was this guy who was crazy smart and made the company a lot of money. Only problem was that he was always drunk at 8 AM, always. They let him go, nicest dude in the building. Not a broker, just someone who has actively traded options for years. Definitely a pyramid scheme, and the options market on this was crazy. Even the options market on this one didn't add up. Yesterday when the stock market was at $340, the March 500 call options were listed around 140. That means the stock would have to gain an additional 140 just to break even by late March. Anyone who didn't get in on the ground floor on this one are going to get crushed. Lots of people are going to get hurt and have nothing to show for it. My boss is going crazy thinking he's going to be rich for the third time. He's already rich. Can you guys smell the arrogance coming from these brokers? Playing it off like it's no big deal, bigger fish to fry, nobody cares. This thing is a very big deal. Just read the news. I have a friend who is doing margin calls for millions of dollars to individual investors. He is super stressed out. Ha. Risk manager at a major firm here. This kind of action is actually not so unusual. Things were a lot busier last March and the losses arising from customers blowing through their capital and leaving us to cover the rest are much lower. I think what's most noticeable this time is the feeling that no matter how correct the decision you make is, it's going to be seen by a certain segment of the public as motivated by corruption or greed. I can't speak for what's going on at any firm in particular, but I can tell you I couldn't care less about the financial health of the hedge funds who are responsible for this mess. If my firm takes an action to restrict certain types of trading, it's because we have an obligation to reduce exposure to highly volatile securities, not because we are taking orders from someone with skin in the game. This is what we're trained to do, and we are liable to the agencies that regulate us if we fail to properly risk manage the situation. I have a friend who's salty AF about it. I had to go get my Series 6 and 7, and all these assholes in their parents' basements are just doing this for the lols. This is my job. Crikey. Trade floors aren't a thing anymore. All these boomers commenting about how it's like nothing shows how out of touch they are with reality. This is more than buying stocks. It's making a stand and shining a light on the unfair systems of stock trading at the very least, and we need to legislate to even the odds. It will happen. It's a pyramid scheme for the top investors in WSB. They're going to sell and leave their followers holding the bag. Most brokers handle transactions online nowadays. It's actually becoming rare for a person to own paper stocks or any physical equity. Here's what I don't get. Isn't the mantra of investing, don't put all of your eggs in one basket? Isn't like that the first rule of investment? How are these companies so invested into these shorts that they have to declare bankruptcy when they fall through? This seems like a major failure of policy and planning, and like they may deserve to fail in this case. Smells like salty boomers and gay bears in here. Is there any way to bump this post besides an upvote? To be honest, it's a mixture of insanity, but I super admire what you guys are doing. The stress is worth seeing the little guy make money. It makes for a good story, but this isn't going to do anything except briefly piss off a couple of hedge funds. 15.9% of GME shares are held by retail investors. The rest is institutional investors and mutual funds. WSB thinks they're the big swinging schlong for blowing up a couple of hedge funds, but the real big dick sabotage hedge fund strategies with rounding errors. WSB is being manipulated by the guys in the sub who know how to invest. They're going to sell out before that rocket makes a lunar landing and make bank, while the rank and file schmucks who are along for the ride are going to have a fat tab to cover. It's not going to be pretty, and we're definitely going to see people investigated by the SEC, but it won't be Robin Hood. They're legally required to halt trading, sell off high risk positions, etc., to protect themselves and their clients, 99% of whom have no idea what they are doing. Edit. To clarify, I definitely think Robin Hood will be investigated. I don't think they'll be found guilty of market manipulation. If they are, I hope they're fined into oblivion and the hedge funds along with them. For most people in finance, this would be a fun news story and nothing more. People are acting like Reddit is taking down Wall Street here. I think those people underestimate how massive the industry is. This is like a single car crash across the entire traffic network for a city, or some other analogy, I don't know. Short squeezes happen. Some guys will get throttled by it. Everyone else will just look on with mild amusement. It is fun. Tried to call for a not stock related reason today. I was trying to set up a login for an existing account and the hold time was over an hour. I decided it could wait a day or two. Well, I'm CEO of a corporate bank and stuff is pretty much normal. Exclusively blue chip stocks are traded here. The only real difference is some minor competition has been crushed because of dumbass. Laugh out loud, the rational discussion in this thread is blowing my mind. I work on a quaint trading desk. Our clients are many of the major and some minor hedge funds you can think of. Our clients' trading volume has broken records these last 2 days. There are 97% less stockbrokers now than there were in the year 2000. Their jobs have been taken by software. Current news pictures of stock floors actually show traders in other things than share market stocks. If we actually get a real broker, we're going to have gotten a manager type. The week that everyone became a financial expert. That's very true. I'm just waiting on Doge to come close to $1. If that ever happens, if not soon, I'll just sit on it for a few years and maybe it'll catch on one day. It's 7:30 PM as I'm posting this. I'm sure they're all passed out under the tables by now. I love this so much. Let's make these people's lives absolute hell for as long as we can. It's the least we can do for undermining the livelihood of generations, while at the same time relentlessly mocking them like the sadistical degenerate pieces of shit they are. Thank God it's Friday, everyone. Honestly, this thread makes me want to get Reezy to load spy calls. People going to get nervous, be some selling and then pop right back. For the people trying to downplay what's happening for whatever reason and say it's not a big deal, then why was trading, buying only, shut down for retail investors? Why did Melvin receive a $2.7 billion bailout? Why is this literally all over the news/internet? Are you sure it's not a big deal? Really? We like the stock. Like and subscribe.